Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. All right, folks, I hope you had a really, really great weekend. All right. And I pray that this upcoming week is equally great for you. All right. So I want to get into a video here. I want to create a video from an article that I read on the CNN website. Really interesting article. So let me start out by asking a simple question. Do Indian Americans, those who immigrated here from South Asia, and those who are part of the MAGA movement, who in many cases lead various aspects of the MAGA movement, do they see that the racist MAGA movement that they helped create hates them just as much as it hates African Americans? Let me ask that question again. Do they see, that is Indian Americans, not Native Americans, Indian Americans, do they see that the hateful, racist MAGA movement that they helped create hates them as non-whites as much as it hates us African Americans? Because if not, they're in for a rude awakening. And they are currently learning the hard way that they're still non-white people despite the disdain and racism that they help MAGA show toward African-American people and that many of them show individually. And that's because they have grossly misread the current situation in America. In other words, America right now fears non-white people and see them as invaders. But even before that, for decades, instead of showing African Americans respect and appreciation for the work that we did, which led to them being able to come into this country and experience all kinds of prosperity, they showed us disdain, disrespect, a lot of racism. They started attacking us in order to show loyalty to white America. We were easy targets. So the easiest thing to do is to start, again, attacking Black Americans who historically and currently are the main targets in this country. So they jumped on the bandwagon. Indian Americans jumped on the bandwagon to gain acceptance. And so they started doing stuff like denying racism, excusing racism, practicing racism themselves. Like Nikki Haley, former UN ambassador, presidential candidate. What did she say? She said, America has never been a racist country. Despite 250 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow and current day systemic racism, she had the gall to say that America is not and has not been a racist country. Amazing. And the person who is currently over the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, she is working to weaken voting rights. Despite MAGA promoting all kinds of anti-immigration fear and hate. And then there is Dinesh D'Souza. I introduced you to him for some of you who didn't know him already. He loves to blame Black culture African American culture, for all the problems that African Americans experience, as if there has not been a legacy of extreme white supremacy and racism. And then we all remember Ann Coulter told presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy that yes, she liked his rhetoric, but she still would have never voted for him because he is, quote, an Indian. In other words, he is not and cannot be a WASP, a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant. So this pattern speaks for itself. While they attack us, the MAGA movement is attacking them, despite them helping build this movement. They still have not learned that MAGA is driven by fear of a non-white demographic change and takeover. And we're going to learn in just a second why MAGA hates them especially. Hates Indian Americans, South Asians especially. So in MAGA's eyes, non-white people can fit two categories. They're either usable or they're useless. That includes all non-white people, Black, Asian, Arab. We're either usable to further their white agenda or we're useless. And some of these immigrants, they come here thinking that they will be accepted so long as they dish out a lot of anti-Black racism especially. But that is not enough to gain them acceptance, especially not in this political climate, because of the very movement, the very MAGA movement that they helped build and lead. Now, let's go to this CNN article. It's very, very interesting. Let's read this so that you can see for yourself how this has developed and is developing. It's going to be a huge problem for Indian Americans going forward in the future. The article says, last month, FBI Director Kash Patel wished his followers on X a happy Diwali. It did not go over well. Now, look up what Diwali is. I'm not an expert. I'm not even familiar with what the term means. So look it up for yourself. I presume it is a holiday in Indian culture. All right. And so he was wishing his followers a happy Diwali. Far-right Christian nationalists and white nationalists accounts flooded his posts with bigoted memes and rhetoric. Quote, "Go back home and worship your sand demons," close quote. A far-right pastor wrote. Quote, "Get the F out of my country," close quote. Read another reply. Said another one, quote, "This is America. We don't do this," close quote. These responses, some of which were seen millions of times, were on the tamer end of the spectrum. In other words, there were even worse comments. Similar hostility followed Diwali greetings on X from former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, the woman who said America's not racist, never been. Former presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy, who sort of smirked when Ann Coulter said something disparaging about blacks. An assistant attorney general for civil rights, Harmit Dillian, who again is working as I speak to weaken voting rights for blacks, as well as posts about the holiday from the White House, the State Department, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Now you may ask, why if MAGA is so racist, is the White House, the State Department, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, why are they saying Happy Diwali? Because again, keep in mind, so long as Indian Americans or any non-white group are doing the bidding of white supremacy, they're usable. They're usable, especially by these folks in these high up positions, governors and so on. But the base, they tell the real story. That tells you really what they think about these folks. Let's keep reading. Some Indian American conservatives seem shocked that segments of the political right are now aiming at them. Why are they shocked? That's why I said in the beginning, they badly misread the room. White Americans are fearful of losing this country, of this country becoming a majority-minority country. They are fearful of that. That's why we got Donald Trump. That's why we have MAGA. But they thought, so long as they were sufficiently anti-black, they would be seen as different. They would be seen as different than blacks and Latinos. And even some Latinos and even some blacks try to gain acceptance this way. But it will never work. It'll never work. When Democrats won big on election night, Ramaswamy advised Republicans to cut out the identity politics, saying, "We don't care about the color of your skin or your religion. We care about the content of your character." Close quote. And that's garbage. He hasn't learned. Now, doing it the way he has done it, and the rest of them has paid off for them. Because when you are usable to white America, they'll reward you. That'll open doors. That certainly will they'll roll out the red carpet. But that doesn't change the basic fundamental fact that you're not white and that you're doing what you're doing to further white dominance. And if you're okay with that, then you can remain usable. After one ex-user said that the existence of Indians disgusted him, Dinesh D'Souza, the right-wing commentator who had peddled racism against black Americans for decades, mused, quote, "In a career spanning 40 years, and I might add, of anti-blackness, I've never encountered this type of rhetoric. The right never used to talk like this. So who on our side, you're not a part of what they're doing, D'Souza. What more do they need to tell you? You never were. You were simply usable." Has legitimized this type of vile degradation. Are you talking about the same stuff that you and others have done to blacks? Yeah, the chickens are coming home to roost. But the truth of the matter is the chickens have been roosting the whole time. These folks were just deluded. If they hate us, they hate all non-white people. And that's what these folks are learning. Now keep in mind, this is an Indian American who wrote this article. She goes on to say, This type of degrading rhetoric is not new, but it's increasingly prominent from the political right, MAGA. With the rise of once fringe figures and with President Donald Trump aggressively cracking down on nearly every type of immigration, some members of the MAGA coalition are openly suggesting that only white Christians belong in America. As long as you're usable, you might get a pass. So as long as you keep carrying the water for white dominance, you may get a pass. And they thought that pass was acceptance. It's not. The call is coming from inside the House, this article goes on to say. So I can't pronounce the name. An editorial manager and analyst at the Institute for Strategic Dialogue, who has examined anti-Indian hate speech in the far right online. Indian immigrants, now watch this, and Indian Americans, or anyone perceived as Indian, are the largest target of a growing anti-migrant movement in the U.S. and around the world. Why? Because oftentimes those people come here on H-1B visas. They tend to be educated, more educated than others. They tend to be skilled in technology, science, and that positions them for the best jobs, to make the most money, and to create a lot of wealth. In fact, currently at the top of the food chain right now, economically, in terms of wages, income, wealth, are Indian Americans. And many whites resent that. Okay, they resent that. Come over here, this is how MAGA see it. They come over here, they bring their culture, they're changing this country from a white country to an Indian country to an Asian country with their religion, with their culture, and so on. And with the rhetoric that has come out of the MAGA movement, they are tired of it. So yeah, if you help them with that movement, you're usable. Just like some blacks voted for Trump this second time. They got used. They were usable. But now that they're in and doing their thing, those same black folks now are useless to their agenda. Now there may be some more targeted political outreach to blacks the closer we get to 2026, right? For example, rebates on the tariffs, the $2,000 checks that Trump has floated. Yeah, that may cause some blacks to yet support this movement. But I just pray that they do critical thinking. $2,000 is not worth selling out our community. And if they will turn against Indian Americans who are supposedly the model immigrant, they already think that we are trash as black people. So if they think this of the so-called model immigrant, can you imagine what they think about you black folk? $2,000 should not delude you into thinking that Trump has anything good in store for us. This past year should show us. If you didn't get the lesson from the first administration, you should have gotten the lesson by now. I tried to tell you. but hopefully you're getting it now. Raquib, I don't know how to pronounce this name, Naik, the center's founder and executive director, said that his team recorded nearly 2,700 posts promoting racism and xenophobia against Indians and Indian Americans in October alone. Alone. At least some of that might be explained by Elon Musk's transformation of the platform since he took over. Racist content that would previously have been policed by content moderators is now amplified and encouraged. X did not respond to a request for comment. I don't know if you have been over on X, but I don't like it. I don't go over there. It is too hateful. It's too hateful. And I don't want to waste my time with that. As with the Diwali outrage, these attitudes flare up at times when India or Indians are in the news. Trump's appointment of this person as senior advisor on artificial intelligence, Ramaswamy criticizing American culture as mediocre in a social media post, escalations in the U.S.-India trade war, and a fatal accident in Florida involving a Sikh truck driver. But the most consistent anti-Indian bigotry online focuses on the H-1B visa program, of which Indian nationals are the biggest beneficiaries. Naik and other researchers said the program, which admits highly skilled foreigners into the U.S. to work in specialized fields, has sparked infighting among Trump supporters, with visa opponents such as Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller accusing India of, quote, a lot of cheating on immigration policies. While the president's stance on the issue has fluctuated, he recently restricted H-1B visas by imposing a $100,000 application fee. You see how this is playing out? Far-right accounts and actors now routinely frame Indian immigrants as scammers who are depriving Americans of high-paying jobs and call to deport them. Yet, Indian Americans are in leadership roles in MAGA, in Trump's second administration, and are helping implement all these anti-Black policies. Yet the very movement that they help create and help lead hates them just as much. And as far as immigrants are concerned, hate them the most. All right? So, they accuse Indians of hiring only within their caste or ethnicity, invoke stereotypes about Indians being dirty or smelly, and highlight behaviors like eating with one's hands as cultural backwardness. It isn't just far-right trolls who invoke these tropes during the recent New York City mayoral race. The independent campaign of former Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo released, then quickly deleted, an AI-generated attack ad depicting Zohran Mamdani sloppily eating rice with his hands. Slurs directed at South Asians, some of which originated on the largely unmoderated online forum 4chan, are surging and entering the lexicon both online and offline. Photos and videos selectively showing Indian origin people in public places are held up as evidence of an invasion. Another iteration of white replacement theory. Sounds like MAGA has turned or was always against Indian Americans, but it's coming out now. Very interesting. These attitudes didn't emerge in a vacuum. Even before Trump was first elected, powerful figures in his movement, including Steve Bannon and Miller, were referencing the 1970s novel, The Camp of the Saints, as a cautionary tale. In the book, a favorite of white supremacists, a fleet of Indian migrants led by a feces-eating farmer invades France and overthrows the Western world. Wow. Yet, to be accepted, to be a part of something that they never will be accepted and a part of, but for that, for the illusion of that, they will unleash all kinds of anti-blackness. It seems like if you're the target of racism, you should know better than to be racist. It's like Native Americans, to be honest with you, who were colonized and genocide, yet they enslaved blacks. And many of them continue to support far-right movements and agenda. Against this backdrop of racist and economic grievance, the success and prominence of Indian Americans make them an easy target, said Rohit Chopra, a professor of Santa Clara University who studies far-right online communities and who co-authored the reports for the Center for the Study of Organized Hate. Indian immigrants and Indian Americans are among the highest earning ethnic groups in the U.S., according to a Pew Research Center analysis of census data. They've ascended to top government posts and are CEOs of billion-dollar companies. They are represented at the highest levels of media, entertainment, technology, business, medicine, and academia. The public image of the Indian community has been that of these basically successful tech professionals and CEOs, Chopra said. And the Indian community and Indian American community significant plays up that image too. This image certainly doesn't reflect all Indian Americans, a religiously and ethically diverse group that includes U.S. citizens, legally authorized visa workers, international students, and undocumented migrants. But his long simmering resentment against affluent Indian Americans metastasized into a demonization of the entire community. Chopra said there's a danger that this could inspire real-world violence. Look at this. Look at this. I could read more. There's more here. Go and read this article. But I think I will stop here. This is a long article. It's a very good article. I think this part here is interesting, though. This part here having to do with Vice President J.D. Vance. So as we know, Vice President J.D. Vance's wife is an Indian American. Okay? So they're in high places. In very high places. And unfortunately, they're using their positions quite often to help the very people who hate them hate us. I don't know if you've had dealings with Indian Americans. I have over the years. Some have been pleasant. Some have been unpleasant. So I will not use anecdotes to smear an entire community. But the research, the data shows that there is anti-blackness from the South Asian community toward African Americans. That's not every one of them, but the data shows many of them. And again, with them suffering the type of racist behavior that they're experiencing, one would think that they would not participate in that and certainly not help implement it against other non-white people. But even in the non-white community, oftentimes trying to get that proximity to whiteness will cause non-white people, again, as I've been saying throughout this video, to attack each other. And the day will be so great when non-white people stop attacking each other and join forces against our common enemy, which is white supremacy. I am Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching this video. And stay woke.